So, Arisha, in showbiz, second chances are definitely not guaranteed. I feel like that's also the case in every biz. So, if you get a second chance, you better make the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you are, because some people get 50 chances, and it's like, come on, they suck. But yeah,
that's
I agree.
true. Well, Saturday Night Live just gave comedian Shane Gillis a second shot. So back in 2019, Shane was announced as a new SNL cast member, but after some inappropriate material of his went public, he was fired before he even went on air. But this weekend, SNL brought him back as a host.
They did. And NBC's decision to bring Shane back to 30 Rock was definitely surprising and also polarizing.
Yeah.
And the reviews are now in, and they're also mixed. People are all fired up on both sides, as is usually the case.
It is usually the case, yes. From Wondery, I'm Brooke Sifrin.
And I'm Arisha Skidmore-Williams. It's Monday, February 26th.
And you're listening to Rich and Daily. So Saturday Night Live caused a little bit of a stir earlier this month when they announced that Shane Gillis would be hosting the show. So, like I said, in 2019, Shane was actually hired as a cast member on SNL. Now, this was the same year that Chloe Fineman and Bowen Yang were brought in, who are just absolutely killing it. Like,
I love Bowen.
I love
Bowen. Bowen is just delightful.
He's so good. And he's in so much stuff now.
I know.
Like, he's
got the
truly
Midas
killing
touch.
it. Yeah. But Shane never made it to air because, like we said, some comments he made on his podcast resurfaced online and it kind of bit him in the ass. So Shane co-hosts a podcast with comedian Matt McCusker called Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. And in 2018, they had an episode where Shane riffed about Asian people.
Which is enough to be like, yep, that's not a good idea.
Yeah,
just not a good idea. We shouldn't be
riff.
riffing about any nationality, just in general.
Yeah.
So we're not going to quote him, but Shane mocked the way Asian people talk, and he casually referred to them using a racial slur. Again, I this happens, unfortunately, a lot. I'm going to come in as a person of color. Don't casually drop racial slurs, even if you're repeating something you've heard.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people can't just say N-word instead of actually saying the word. Like, you don't have to say the word, even if you're not using it as a slur to someone. Like, just shut up.
I'm going to come in as a person whose skin is basically translucent and agree with you. You know?
Thank you. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Ghosts agreeing with us.
Yep.
So not long after SNL announced the new cast, this clip started making the rounds, as is usually the case.
Yeah.
And before Shane even appeared in a sketch, he was canned. And at the time, SNL released a statement where they said, "We were not aware of his prior remarks that have surfaced over the past few days. The language he used is offensive, hurtful, and unacceptable. We are sorry that we did not see these clips earlier and that our vetting process was not up to our standard." You got to wonder about the vetting process, because this wasn't, like, hidden.
Yeah, like, what is the vet? Like, are we to believe that they go scour the globe for clips and podcasts and everything of these people that they're going to cast? I doubt that.
I hope that they, like, it's just somebody Googling the person's name plus
Problematic.
Racist, homophobic, like, all of the possibilities.
Yeah.
But so at the time, Shane wrote an apology on social media where he said, "I'm a comedian who pushes boundaries. I sometimes miss. If you go through my 10 years of comedy, most of it bad, you're going to find a lot of bad misses. I'm happy to apologize to anyone who's actually offended by anything I've said."
So not an apology at all.
No, that last sentence was just such a snarky.
I know.
Nobody's actually offended by this. Like, it's just people that are upset that I used a word that actually shouldn't offend anybody because the people that should be offended aren't saying anything. Like,
yeah.
That's not how it works, Shane.
I know. And I will say there are times where people will say something and everyone gets up in arms and I'm like, they didn't really even say anything. But in this case, it's like, you did, though. Like,
yeah,
just because people aren't knocking on your door telling you they're offended doesn't mean people aren't offended.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's just this is a common trope, I feel like, for people that use words incorrectly or offensively. And they're like, this is just how I speak. Like, I don't mean any offense. Like, it's comedy. And it's just, no, it's not. Like, words hurt people. the way the world is right now has to do with how people talk to each other. Like,
Yeah. So, given this backstory, when SNL announced that Shane would be hosting this past weekend's SNL, a lot of people were surprised, including a couple of Asian American organizations who actually spoke to TMZ. So Joanne Yu, the executive director of the Asian American Federation, suggested that Shane should show he's serious about making amends by writing a check to their organization's Hope Against Hate campaign.
Mm-hmm. And Norman Chen, who's the CEO for the Asian American Foundation, said that he was disheartened to learn that Shane was going to host SNL and hoped he would offer a genuine apology on the show. Now, I don't know if this surprises anyone. Shane did not wind up apologizing on the show.
Yeah.
But in his monologue, he didn't run away from his past either.
Most of you probably have no idea who I am. I was fired from this show a while ago, but if, don't look that up, please. If you don't know who I am, please don't Google that. It's fine. Don't even worry about it.
So during his monologue, Shane definitely leaned into some uncomfortable territory, which did get a pretty mixed reaction from the studio audience. Like, he made a joke about one of his family members having Down syndrome, and he was like, "It almost got me, but I dodged it. It did nick me, though," which I've heard that joke. So I must have seen him do this joke somewhere, because I think it's on like his Netflix thing. Not that I haven't seen his Netflix special because I don't know him.
You're a big Shane stan. You can admit it.
Big Shane Gillis fan. I was so excited. But I've definitely heard this joke, so it's made the rounds. And at one point, he did kind of call out the awkward energy in the room, and he said, "Look, I don't have any material that can be on TV. I'm trying my best, all right?" But Shane didn't just get a mixed reaction from the studio audience. People online were also understandably divided about his performance.
They definitely were. In the comment section to a clip from Shane's monologue on TikTok, one person wrote, "Bro fumbled hard. He had the chance to just boss it up after all the history, and he was shook." Agree. Another person wrote that as an Asian American, he was very disappointed to see Shane hosting the show. There were, however, others who loved Shane's performance on SNL. Former SNL cast member Melissa Villaseñor commented on Instagram that Shane killed it. And someone else on TikTok called Shane's monologue one of the, quote, top 5 funniest monologues ever. Now, we should mention that this someone on TikTok, this is the first time they've ever seen television or anybody speak. Like, this was literally the first time they saw it. So
yeah, definitely.
Because there's no other way somebody, like, walk on the street and listen to people talking and it's a better monologue. Like, come on.
I know. That is a very wild thing to say. So, Arisha, a lot of mixed feelings about Shane Gillis on SNL. What are your thoughts?
Is SNL hurting for talent?
I guess, yeah.
We're here. Give us a call.
I know. If we're offering it up to anybody now.
I know.
Has there ever been a dual host of SNL? Because
if not, there should be. It should be us, and then it should be Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Yeah. But definitely
we should
us first.
Tag team. Well, yeah, obviously. Come on. The bigger names go first. That's just how showbiz works. I'm not a Shane fan. I didn't know about him until this story, actually. Like, I'd heard like last week when this came out that he was hosting, and I, did a little quick dive into his past to see for context and like, okay, well, let's see like what is this person saying. And just, I'm so sick of these people being offensive, saying rude things, and then not even apologizing. Like, this guy has not learned anything. Just listening to his monologue, and it was like, people pay to listen to this?
I know.
Really?
Well, and like, I was watching it with my mom, the monologue, and she was like, people are saying he bombed. She's like, it sounded like people were laughing. And I was like, I read an article somewhere that was like, you wouldn't know based on, like, if you were watching it at home, because it does kind of sound different, but they're like, when you're in there and you're on stage, like, it's definitely a different vibe. But I don't know, him trying to like call it out didn't help. It was just like Joe Coy trying to call it out. It doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work, no.
It's interesting to me that SNL had him host in the first place because, one, he's not famous. Let's be really honest.
Yeah.
Like, he's not even a famous comedian.
Yeah.
You know, like even if you
I know.
like Nate Bargatze hosted, and I love Nate Bargatze. I think he's one of my favorite comedians. He's not necessarily famous, but he's a pretty well-known comedian.
It's another name I don't know.
But like SNL has this kind of track record of firing people or like cutting ties with people, like Morgan Wallen when he was supposed to be the musical guest and he like had all that controversy and he like broke COVID protocol and all this stuff, and then they invited him back again. It's like, I don't know why SNL does this. It almost gives off that they make the initial move to like appease people, or they're afraid that they're going to get backlash, and then they just a couple years later or however long after have them back. It's like a weird choice, especially to make the choice on someone who's not known.
And it's weird. It's a weird way to double down on something no one should be doubling down on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and no, like if you're saying things like this, you're very uneducated. At best, you're uneducated and not racist, but just like super uneducated and not willing to educate yourself. But most likely you just harbor a lot of like micro racism thoughts that obviously should be unlearned. And it's like SNL just being like, oh yeah, we did the thing. We fired him and we stand in solidarity. And then a couple years later, he's hosting the show.
I know.
And it's like, for him, like, it's not worth it doing for anybody, but I would expect this for somebody like, what's his face? Who I said I wasn't funny and everyone came for me.
Oh, Dave Chappelle?
Yeah, Dave Chappelle. Like, I could see them doing it for Dave Chappelle.
Right.
That's a name everybody knows.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it okay, but I could see it.
Right.
But for Shane, it's
We're
like...
also brushing past the fact that he said the R word in his monologue.
I know!
It's like...
I know!
Who at SNL was like, go for it, bud?
Yeah, and also him talking about his sister and, like, talking about how, like, she, like, just describing, like, her husband who's East African and just, just a lot of ignorance. And it's like, if that was my brother talking about my adopted children, I'd be like, shut up, and you're not coming over for Thanksgiving anymore.
Yeah.
How about them apples?
How about them? How about them donuts? I'm sorry. Matt Damon shout out. It's from your favorite commercial of all time.
Come on, that was 2 weeks ago. I'm a different woman now.
Okay, well, thank God for that. But yeah, I think the takeaway here is that you and I have a legitimate shot of hosting SNL.
I know. We just, have to walk by Lorne Michaels on a cafe street?
Yep.
Done.
Give
Let's
us a
get
ring
to
of
New York.
Lorne boy. From Wondery, I'm Brooke Siffrin.
And I'm Marisha Skidmore-Williams. This is Rich and Daily.
See you tomorrow, Richies. If you like our show, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you're listening right now.
Be sure to follow us on all socials at Arisha Skidmore-Williams and at Brooke Siffrin. We love to connect with you.